Uh-oh.
In her last two fights. Good way hitting him from that way down.
Welcome to the motherfucking relay. We're covering today's top boxing news.
Okay, we'll start with this. Former unified champion Stephen Fulton is embarking on a stealthy return to the top. He will be boxing on the undercard, the prelim card of Canelo versus Berlanga next month.
I saw him take to his social media to express his discontent. He wasn't happy about that.
Stephen Fulton could have passed for a casual observer rather than one of the guests of honor at the media event in Philly. He appeared to purposely keep a low profile, seemingly content to remain in silence. The event, held to promote Fulton's September 7th featherweight debut against Carlos Castro on the undercard of Canelo vs. Berlanga at the T-Mobile Arena in Vegas, involved Fulton blending into the background with his hoodie pulled up and sunglasses on.
Bear in mind, we are in the middle of summer.
In stark contrast, Danny Gersha, wearing his own merchandise, commended attention as he put on a show.
So what's Stephen's problem?
Interpreting his behavior? I don't think he's happy. I think he feels like he's really not a priority. Look at how long it's taken them to get him back out there, and when they do, it's on a prelim card, not even the main card.
He's giving them the energy they're giving him.
It has been a long time since Fulton, a former unified champion, last fought. He lost his junior featherweight titles to Inoue in July of last year via an 8th round technical knockout. Since then, he has remained mostly silent.
Mostly.
Only occasional gym footage emerged. Fulton returns to the ring as the headliner of the prelim card before the start of the Prime Video pay-per-view.
I don't think Stephen is comfortable with his situation over there. I don't think he likes it, but what has he actually done to change it? To change his decorum? Because in the last calendar year, we've seen a lot of fighters that used to fight under the PBC banner go to other places like Elvis Rodriguez, Michelle Rivera.
Angelo Leo, a former opponent of Stephen Fulton's. The man he beat. He went to Pro Box. He's a champion now. I want to get myself together first, then I will rematch him, Inoue, Fulton said. He added that he feels no pressure heading into this fight, describing himself as just a different me. Since his past fight, both the boxing landscape and Fulton's team have changed. His new lead trainer is Derek Bozienis. It remains unclear if his former trainer, Wahid Rahim, will be involved. His weight division has also shifted, with Angelo Leo, who Fulton beat to win his first title, a champion. Another past opponent, and Brandon Figueroa, who many believe defeated Fulton, has also moved up. Fulton provided no hints about his future plans and focused solely on his upcoming fight. Once considered a pound-for-pound talent, his name is less frequently mentioned at all levels.
Well, inactivity has a habit of doing that. This is the what have you done for me lately sport.
It wouldn't make a difference, Fulton responded when asked if he had a preference for his next opponent. I would like to get a title at this weight class, but it wouldn't make a difference. Castro enters their fight on a 3-fight winning streak after being knocked out by Figueroa in July of 2022 and losing a split decision to Luis Nery earlier that year. Fulton, as elusive as so often been in the ring, said of future fights, "Whatever comes my way."
He seems dejected.
Just kind of going through the motions and ready to get this over with. Likely upset that it's taken over a year's time for the PBC to get him a rebound fight. And in the time it's taken them to do that, Inoue has already fought 2, going on 3 times. Marlon Tapales for the rest of the belts, then Luis Neri, and he's got this TJ Doheny fight coming up.
All before Stephen Fulton even has this rebound fight.
No, I don't imagine that Stephen is happy, but if he wants things to change, he has to be that change and change his own decorum, because you're still over there on PBC Island, relying on them to make fights for you. I think about TJ Doheny and how well he's done for himself in Japan his last 3 fights. He's developed a bit of a cult following out there, and I wonder that Stephen Fulton couldn't have arranged a similar situation. Base yourself somewhere else, outside of America, because the market for those weights is in Asia anyway.
And you say that you don't want to do that because you're not staying at 122 anyway. You're moving up to 126. But what fights can the PBC make for you at 126?
Does he have the agency to leave the PBC and go somewhere else? Because his former opponent, Angelo Leo, did. Deontay Wilder, Andy Ruiz.
They did.
Jaleel Hackett, Jahan Ingram.
They did.
Seen a lot of fighters jumping ship in the last few months. Could Stephen Fulton not have been one of them? That if you would have went to, say, Pro Box a few months ago, you probably would have had your rebound fight by now. You probably would have won it and been moving on to something else, something better.
Does he not have the agency to change his decorum? Because if he has it and he doesn't use it, then it's his own fault.
His next move would be he features on the undercard against Kamel Zerameta. What do you think of that fight, Frank?
It's okay as a fight. I'd much rather he was fighting Denzel Bentley, but he didn't want to know.
I think you said to my colleague Danny Flexen that the interest in Hamza Sheeraz Eubank Jr. fight might be there, but as a stepping stone for Hamza Sheeraz. But now that he features on the Saudi cards, does that open the door a bit more?
I don't know. We've offered him that fight, and he didn't want to know, or he priced himself out of it. You know, he's not like he's some youngster. Next generation. He's 34 years of age, 35 this year. So, you know, there's some great domestic fights. You know, Denzel, as I just said, for Hamza, for him to fight one of them, but he doesn't want to know.
That's what Frank Warren had to say about it, but since then, Chris Eubank Jr. has refuted those claims.
Rubbishing the idea that he was offered those fights with those fighters?
Chris Eubank Jr. and Frank Warren have never been the best of friends, with conflict dating all the way back to a 2014 fight with Next Gen and then Warren charged Billy Joe Saunders. Warren took a fresh pop at Eubank this week after his fight against Kamel Zerameta was announced, claiming the Brighton man hasn't got the balls to face Denzel Bentley or Hamza Sheeraz. With an offer made for a showdown with the former, speaking to IFL TV, the Queensbury boss stated, "Denzel on his day is up there with all of them. I was desperately trying to get the fight made with him and Chris Eubank Jr., who crapped himself at the thought of getting in the ring with him." Denzel Bentley has since rebounded off that lopsided decision loss to Nathan Heaney. I believe that Denzel has fought 2 times since then and won 2 times since then. Looked good.
Knocked both guys out.
Frank continued, the 34-year-old next generation, he hasn't got the balls to do it, either with him or Hamza Sheeraz. However, Eubank's manager, Nova Sport Group, quickly reached out to pro boxing fans to refute Warren's claims regarding a fight against Bentley.
Just Bentley? What about Hamza?
We never received any offer regarding Denzel Bentley. Talk of a fight between the two Brits emerged after Bentley's impressive stoppage win over Derek Osaze last weekend, with Too Sharp taking just 2 rounds to dismantle the Peckham man. Eubank, by contrast, hasn't fought in over a year since his revenge win over Liam Smith at the Manchester Arena, in what many viewed as one of the best performances of Chris's career. He had Bomac McIntyre in his corner, Terence Crawford's longtime trainer. What is the status of that relationship?
I wonder.
The Brighton showman returns against Zerameta on the undercard of Better B vs. Bivol, due to take place on October 12th in Saudi, and though the Polish native has shared the ring with the likes of Gennady Golovkin and Jaime Munguia, he was dealt with comfortably on both occasions, and Eubank is a heavy favorite to emerge victorious and pave the way for a big fight in the first half of next year.
You have to use some common sense for this one. You may be telling yourself, well, Chris hasn't fought in over a year, so he needs a tune-up fight.
What you should be asking yourself is, why hasn't he fought in over a year? That if he wanted to fight any time in between now and the time that he beat Liam Smith in their rematch, He could have. There were opponent options there. Let's not kid ourselves. If Chris Eubank Jr. wanted to fight Denzel Bentley, he would have fought Denzel Bentley. If he wanted to fight Hamza,
You didn't sit out for over a year because you couldn't get a fight. You're Chris Eubank Jr. You can get a fight.
in the subsequent months that followed his revenge win over Liam Smith, if he wanted to fight Denzel, if he wanted to fight Hamza, Felix Cash, even Yanibek Alimkhanuly, unified middleweight champion Yanibek Alimkhanuly, do you think that if Chris wanted to fight those guys and he pursued those fights, he wouldn't have got them?
Come on.
That's why I said you gotta use a bit of common sense for this one. So he parted ways from his longtime promoters, Wasserman Boxing, and he enters free agency. And instead of going with Frank, where some fights are, he goes to Boxer.
Who the hell is over there at Boxer?
The answer is in the question. Nobody's over there. And that's why he went. I mean, if you would have went with Frank, you know what fights Frank would have been trying to make. And let me tell you something about those fights. Either a Bentley fight or a Sheeraz fight. For Chris Eubank Jr., oh yeah, you can sell those fights. In the UK, you can definitely sell those fights.
Either one is a hot ticket.
As of late, Chris Eubank Jr.'s name became attached to a potential Canelo Alvarez fight that has now been pushed back to Cinco de Mayo of the coming year, potentially, if they so decide to revisit that fight. I'm not interested in watching Chris Eubank Jr. fight somebody like Canelo. That's a mismatch.
Canelo knocks him out. Everybody knows Canelo knocks him out. I'm actually more interested in Eubank versus Bentley or Eubank versus Sheeraz.
Those are more even fights. And as a customer, as a consumer, that's what you want to see. You want to see even competitive matchups.
Chris is only in it for safe fights. I mean, at this age, 34, going on 35.
And you say that he's willing to fight Canelo Alvarez, but the only reason he would take on somebody like Canelo is because of how much money it pays out. That yes, you're probably going to get knocked out, but you'll make a fortune.
I hope Canelo's not serious about fighting this guy.
For Canelo, fighting Chris would be even more pointless than fighting Edgar Berlanga, who he is about to fight.
It's not like he can't make money with Denzel or Hamza. The thing is that there are no built-in excuses with those fights like there are in a Canelo Alvarez fight that, well, there's no shame in losing to someone like Canelo, but he might be ashamed if he's beaten by his domestic rivals.
If he's gotten to the point to where they're using him as a stepping stone.
If that is what he's reduced to.
He has found refuge, at least momentarily, a lighter touch in this Camille Zeremata fight as part of a Riyadh season show. But you know, Riyadh season, generally speaking, they like to match guys tough. Turkey might have let him get away with this one because he hasn't fought in over a year and he needs a tune-up the next time out. He might want him to fight someone more serious.
Just in keeping with the theme of all things Riyadh season.
AJ and Dubois sell out Wembley for their world title clash. Comes as a surprise to no one familiar with this fight and familiar with these fighters and where it is taking place. Anthony Joshua and Daniel Dubois have sold out Wembley Stadium for their September 21st IBF Heavyweight World Title Clash, live on Sky Sports Box Office. Chairman of the General Entertainment Authority, Turkey El Sheikh, revealed that all general admission tickets for the bill, which features a stacked undercard as well as a performance by Liam Gallagher, have now been sold.
There's been a lot of chatter around the Riyadh season show they did here in America, headlined by Terence Crawford, and how the numbers were not robust.
Terence Crawford's critics have taken this as ammunition, an indictment against him that he just can't sell, an indictment against him when I think it's an indictment against them and the American market, because it wasn't just Terence Crawford on that show. It was Isaac Cruz versus Rayo Valenzuela.
Andy Ruiz versus Jarrell Miller. David Morrell versus Radavoje Kalajdzic.
Bakoli versus Anderson. It was a stacked bill full of great fights. And if that's not enough to get you guys to buy it,
It's not an indictment against Terrence of Turkey. It's an indictment against you. You guys just don't buy anything.
most of the time, the numbers weren't robust, but I don't think Turkey is having that problem in the UK with Anthony Joshua, as Joshua is no stranger to a packed Wembley, having fought there for his landmark win over Vladimir Klitschko, as well as his victory over Alexander Povetkin. September 21st will be the first time he has boxed there as a world title challenger. Dubois, previously the IBF's interim titleist, was elevated to full champion status when Usyk vacated his belt, a gift up to these two guys?
Because he wasn't under any orders to fight Dubois. He didn't have to vacate it, he chose to.
And I have my own reservations, my own theories as to why he did that. For Dubois, this bout will be an opportunity to win a major world title fight, and in Anthony Joshua, he is facing one of the biggest stars in British sport. Not just British sport, world sport.
Don't forget, this guy is ranked right behind Canelo as the second top earning boxer in all of boxing. World boxing.
I'm just aiming to be the best, to fight the best and beat the best. AJ has been a king for a long time, and we all know it. So on the night, I need to become a king slayer, Dubois said. He's the champion going in with a challenger's mentality.
He's the one with the belt.
That's my goal, and that's my mission at hand. I'm improved all around as a fighter, and I'm an athlete. I'm really up for this and ready to go. Joshua said, I'm not silly either. I know the game. We're all in the wild. We're a pack of lions. It's the next man up, and I've had Dubois on my mind for a while. The goal is just to get through a successful training camp and then performing on the night. I think that Anthony is more used to that than Daniel, even though Daniel's the champion going in. Anthony is the more experienced fighter and more used to these kinds of stages, these big stages, big events, and having to deliver, perform under pressure. He's won some fights and he's lost some fights.
So all of it, the good times and the bad, lend themselves to his poise.
His control. I anticipate Daniel is going to come out of his corner like a bat out of hell, hard and fast, and looking for a knockout early. That's what I think.
With guys this size, it really only takes for one to get through, one good one, and you can hurt the guy, you can stop him.
Perhaps that is what makes the heavyweight division the most spontaneous division in all of boxing, the granddaddy of weight classes, where everybody is just one punch away from being knocked out, no matter how good they are or how experienced they are.
Two of the biggest upsets the sport has ever seen were both in the heavyweight division. Mike Tyson's big upset loss to Buster Douglas, and Anthony Joshua's big upset loss to Andy Ruiz.
And this is why you can't just discount Daniel Dubois. You can't take him lightly or look past him, because this is that weight class.
This is a hot ticket.
And ever since Anthony Joshua's meteoric rise, when I started following this fighter's career, I've talked about how robust and healthy the British boxing scene is, as opposed to the American one, where the fighters are more prone to arguing online than settling it in the ring.
And the fight fans themselves are more likely to hide behind their agendas than advocate that the best fight the best.
The American boxing scene just doesn't have the same buying power that it used to, and that's the story I think the numbers are going to tell once they're all in, when Turkey sees them, that his show in the UK did a lot better than his show in the US.
Seemingly, he has a much easier time making fights for the British fighters and the European fighters than the American ones.
Anthony Joshua by himself has enough marquee value that he doesn't need Riyadh season to get it a big bag, a big purse. If he's doing it, he's doing it because he wants to.
He may be the favorite going in, but this still is a risky fight. It is.
But he's taking it on. I see a lot of examples across the Atlantic Ocean of what a proper fighter behaves like.